and welcome to the all-new, all-different #1 Comics Podcast, episode number 49, Bob.
48 more times.
49 episodes.
47 more times.
Sorry, 48 episodes in the can. 49 right now. We're coming up on episode number 50, Bob.
We are.
That's a big episode number.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. And I said this on my YouTube channel the other day when I was doing like my comic book haul video. Not to brag or anything, but we have consecutively done 49 episodes, Bob. We've not missed a single week.
No. That
is some damn dedication, is all I can say. I mean, shit, you were in the mountains, and came back home. We've dealt with, sicknesses, everything, but we've been here every single week, no matter what. We have not missed a single episode. I can't say that about some of my favorite podcasts. They miss episodes. Shit happens. I get it. But here we are reading a brand new #1 comic book every single week.
That's a lot of comics. Story.
Yeah, exactly. Talking about them, like giving them our review and doing God's work here, letting know if people should subscribe to them or read the second issue. So I don't know. I guess humble brag. Why not? Sure.
Hey,
give credit where credit's due. We've been here.
Yeah. We didn't even think we'd make it past 1.
Yeah, exactly. It seemed like that was going to be a lot of work, and it was a little bit of work, but we did it, and here we are now. So I don't know. I'm proud of us. Super cool. So yeah, 49th episode here. I think I only have at this point another 45 more times to say the episode.
I was going to say 45.
Yeah, we'll ballpark that. Either way, we are in case you didn't know what we were, we're a comic book podcast where each and every episode we review we take a look at a brand new first issue comic book that released that week, break down the story and art beats. The story beats the art. However I'm saying this. This isn't my first episode, I swear.
Arts have beats.
Yeah,
too.
Sure. We give it somewhat of a review and let you guys know if we think that you should move on to issue number 2 or not. We also talk a little bit of comic book news, even when that exists, and we talk about the new books that are out this and next week in local comic book shops. Bob, this week we're going to be covering the all-new #1 from Oni Press. We have a returning...
Yes.
I didn't think we'd get another Oni Press book in this year, but somehow we did. So, yeah, from Oni Press. Bob, if you would.
From Oni, like Dan said, from Oni Press, Invasive #1 written by Cullen Bunn.
Yes, Bob, by the master of horror himself, Cullen Bunn. I'm excited. I don't know how many Cullen Bunn books that is for this podcast so far, but... it's definitely more than one.
Well, yeah, we have this. We had Lamentation.
Oh God, Lamentation was such a good book.
Yes.
Jeez.
So at least 2. I'm probably leaving.
Oh yeah, you're missing a couple. I can't think. We also did we did a bonus episode with now I can't remember, the Midnight Show. That was him. But yeah, you and I have done a few Cullen Bunn books.
Right.
Either way, that's what we're covering today. Invasive #1, Cullen Bunn and Company. We're going to take a quick break, and we will return in a second with some comic book news. And we are back with episode number 49 of the all-new, all-different #1 Comics Podcast. Bob, the news is very, very light, as you just said off air.
Comic book light. Comic news light.
Yeah, very light this week. Not much to talk about. Of course, the Wheel of Time is set to be, I'm not sure if this is supposed to be live action. I would assume so. A live action trilogy of movies. Set to be directed by the same person that did The Handmaid's Tale. And I don't know much about the Wheel of Time. I don't know if you do. It's Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time. I had some friends that were really into it, but I never dove into it. I'm not sure anything about it, other than we have a couple of series here. There is Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time. There was, I guess, like 3 issues published, and this was Bob. I didn't even know this publisher, Dabble Brothers. If you've ever heard of that publisher, I actually have not.
Never heard of it.
yeah, this was like the first appearance of this, I get franchise or whatever. Then we had Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time New Spring, which was a series published in 2005 by Red Eagle. And then we got Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time The Eye of the World, published in 2010 by Dynamite. So those are some issues you might want to chase if you're like a heavy speculator. I don't know. I don't know much about the Wheel of Time. Like, it's like, why would you even waste your time with comic books? Get the novels, I guess, you know, if you want. But I don't know. Whatever. Sometimes, you know, comic books heat up just because there's a show or whatever. So
Right.
Makes sense. Bob, we just kind of talked off air too about the What If Season 2 second trailer that dropped. Really not much to say about that either. It's Christmas themed. It's like 12 Days of Christmas type of thing. I will say I really enjoyed the first trailer a lot more than this one. This one was just kind of like a little teaser, but it made it a little too like happy and campy for me.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the tone of that first one a lot more.
Well, no, I mean that's why that's pretty much the only reason they made it.
Yeah,
Was
exactly.
You know, Christmas theme.
Yep. Yeah, agreed. How about Marvel announced that a animated Black Panther spin-off series that will feature. Now listen to this, Bob. I don't know if you read this news or not. But
No, I didn't. I didn't read deep into it.
Okay. Yeah, this one's going to feature Wakandan warriors who travel the world retrieving dangerous vibranium artifacts. I'm really into this.
So it's wow, Black Panther meets Indiana Jones.
Exactly, right? Like globe-trotting adventures and yeah, I'm really into this. This sounds really cool to me. I'm excited about it. I don't know. I guess Eyes of Wakanda is going to be the name of the show. I'm not sure, but yeah, it sounds really cool to me. I'm excited about that. It sounds pretty awesome. There's also early stage development of a production Netflix is putting out for My Hero Academia. Again, I don't know much about that world of comics. So.
I don't either. I just know it's a very beloved series.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. People love that. Bob, I actually had this issue a while back when I used to do my live sales because this was a free comic book day comic book, 2016 free comic book day by Viz Media. It was like a flip book. One side was One Punch Man, the other side being My Hero Academia. I never knew much about it. I just had it, and one day I was doing a live sale, and one of the girls in the audience was like, "Hey, do you happen to have, you know, this?" And I was like, "Yes, actually I do." And
very specific.
Yeah, exactly. And I looked up the value, and I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, this was a free comic book, and I'm about to sell it to you for like $25. So sounds great to me. I don't know if now
don't
it's
you
worth
love
more.
that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a lot of fun. Yeah, but it's saying, you know, on the high end it's worth about $50 right now. So that always translates. I don't know about you, but anytime I go to like Key Collector and they have like their high end on there, but it's in the like news alerts, you go to click that eBay link. The high end is like the low end now. So if it says on the high end 50 and you're clicking that eBay link, you're looking at, you know, 75, 100, 150. Like it's always way above that. So yeah, once they put out that alert, you know, the sellers catch on. So
if you're gonna get out speculation books, definitely use eBay.
Yeah, exactly. A piece of news that you brought to me this last week, Bob. Sean Gunn being cast in the DCU as Maxwell Lord. Wow, can't talk. Yeah, exciting. I guess. I don't know. I don't know much.
Can't really say I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Considering, you know, James Gunn, and we've seen from Guardians that,
yes,
you know, he likes using his brother, and apparently there's been a couple of DC actors, Zachary Levi especially, that I've heard, you know, has basically said the same thing about, you know, why wouldn't he get cast?
Yes.
In the DC universe.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. That's cool. I really like Sean Gunn a lot. As you know, Bob, big Gilmore Girls fan. He was a regular on that show as Kirk. So I'm always excited to see
Never
him.
watched, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
I have no idea why you wouldn't want to watch that, but okay, that's, you know, whatever. That's up to you. Bob, a little, I don't know. I was kind of excited about this. I'm not much of a gamer. I don't really play games or anything, but there's a developing action game coming out, single player action game, a mature single player action video game set in Paris with Blade. So Blade the Vampire Hunter.
I did hear rumors about that.
Yes.
I have heard a few things about that, and I mean, if you're gonna have Blade as the antagonist or protagonist, I'm sorry, why wouldn't it be a mature game?
Yeah, I'm very into that. That's cool. I don't know. I don't know how this will be released. Like if it'll be like console release or something else.
Oh yeah, I could definitely see it. Console, like the upcoming Wolverine game, the Spider-Man games. I mean, they could make a semi-connected universe.
Yeah, through the games, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Well, Bob, just know, the only thing I have laying around here is a PS4 that I've never plugged in. But if it's on something above that or aside from that, Bob, I'm coming over to your house to play the Blade game. So get ready. I just wanted to touch really quick on the Key Collector Trending 20 again, because there's not really much news to talk about. So just so we got a little something here.
We need filler.
Yeah, exactly. So topping off their list this week is a book that we talked about last week, Harvey Comics' Monster in My Pocket, issue number 1. This, of course, being because a live action series is in development by Will Smith's production company. Cool book. Very cool. Next up from DC Comics in 1987, Justice League number 1 with the first appearance of Maxwell Lord. So, like we just talked about, Sean Gunn being cast as Maxwell Lord. Here is the first appearance. It's still pretty low. I don't know. Actually, here in real live time, I'm going to click the eBay link and see how low is. Yeah, you can still pick up a copy for, 10 or so dollars. I mean, it might be a good time to pick one up is all I'm saying.
This is one of the... I mean, I know Maxwell Lord isn't a big character, even Lobo or Bane.
Yep.
But, I mean, this has always been on the lower end of, I guess you would say, first appearances.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, completely agreed. I mean, for $10, I'd pick one up. So, next up from Marvel Comics this past year, 2022, Miles Morales, Spider-Man number 1, first appearance of Raneem, who later becomes the antagonist named Rabble. Is that how I say that? Yeah.
Yeah, like the Hamburglar from McDonald's.
Oh yeah, fun, good stuff. Next up from Boom Studios, all the way back in 2014. Wow, before Bob was even born. We have Butterfly number 1. This one is it's been optioned. It's turned into a Amazon TV series. This is about a psychopath. I'm sorry, a sociopath agent who's pursuing. You know what? I don't know what this is about, Bob. Let me take a backseat to that. The synopsis here says a former U.S. intelligence operative living in South Korea is pursued by a deadly sociopath. Is that the correct word? What am I saying?
Sociopathic.
Okay, sociopathic. My God. Young agent.
Because we all know words are hard.
Well, reading's hard for me. That's all I can say. So, and speaking of Wolverine, the next book is Marvel Comics back in 2007. Wolverine number 55. That great Greg Land variant cover where Sabretooth's decapitated head is being
very awesome cover.
Yeah, and they said that there was set photos or something revealing this on the set of Deadpool 3. So yeah, really cool.
I'm kind of expecting what was it? What was that limited series? Batman Last Night on Earth or whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Where Joker was a disembodied head and like a lantern, and Batman was just carrying it around through the wastelands. I kind of expect that.
Huh? Yeah. Hey, that's pretty awesome though. Next up from DC Comics, back in '94, we have an iconic cover for Green Lantern 49. Bob, we just saw an homage to this cover in the comic book shop this past Wednesday. Was that a Green Lantern book with Santa on the cover, or was it a different book?
No, I actually think it might have been what was it? Second issue of Silent Night or Silent Nights.
Oh, was it?
I believe
Okay.
it was.
Huh, okay. Well, yeah, either way, a great homage cover came out this week with the same cover here, but with Santa Claus.
Kind of a creepy cover,
Yeah,
I must say.
True. Yeah, really cool, though. Bob, next up we have a DC comic that came out in 1989. And I just want you to look at the value of that book right now because what? This is Batman number 428. Bob, this was always a dollar bin book for a long time.
It really was.
How many copies of
It
this
really
exist,
was.
you know? This is Death in the Family Part 3.
As far as I know, it was still a dollar bin book.
Well, apparently not anymore. This one's got the death of Robin, Jason Todd, who's killed by the Joker. And of course, you know, this one being famous for DC had like a hotline that you could call and you would vote on whether you wanted Jason Todd to live or die. And then they came out with the, next comic book based on that. And of course, was it this week? No, it was 2 weeks ago. DC published the unused script of the one where he lives instead. So,
which famously there was supposedly an auto dialer that swung the vote.
I believe it. Yeah, it sounds about right. Bob, next up, a book that came out this year from IDW Comics, Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, issue number 1. Yeah, this. Look, if you haven't picked up a copy of this, I'm glad you got your copy.
Yeah,
before it sold out.
This book is kind of bonkers.
Yeah, very. This is a very, very cool book. Second issue came out this week.
Yep.
A very, very fun book about a storybook town of anthropomorphic animals who are terrorized by a serial killer. And when we say anthropomorphic, we mean it's like Richard Scarry. That's how it is. It's just very cutesy. Little animals, cute little main character, but then, oh no, not really.
It's the one you least expect.
Yeah, exactly. Really intense book. I love that first issue. Next up from Marvel Comics in 1966, Bob, we have Fantastic Four number 46, second appearance of the Inhumans, the first full appearance of Black Bolt, and the first appearance of Seeker, who's an Inhuman. I'm not sure what the increase is for on this book, but let me tell you that this is one book I found quite a few years back. I want to say it's probably been about 10 years now. I was digging somewhere, maybe a garage sale or something, and somebody had a copy of this book. And I mean, when I tell you this is probably the lowest grade comic book that I own, half of the back cover's ripped off, the staples are all, completely rusted. It looks like it's been through the washing machine, then dryer, and then rats have, pooped on it and everything else.
Did it at least have a board?
No, it was just in a bag, but it's in a nice clean bag and board now. But I'd be lucky to get $2 for it. But yeah, I've got a copy. Next up, we have an Image comic from 2021, Stray Dogs, Bob. Of course, we talked about Stray Dogs a little while ago. The news is still out there that it's been reinvigorated because the director announced that hey, this is still going on. So this is a 5-issue series. It's a suspense thriller. It's Lady and the Tramp meets Silence of the Lambs.
Which just by that description alone is like, wow.
Yeah, and this is a very cool book. Actually, I meant to dig. I'll have to do that today before you leave, Bob, and pull out that trade so you can take that home and read it. But yeah, very, very cool book. This is going to be adapted by Gary Dauberman, who did It and Annabelle. This is going to be good. Definitely grab a copy of this if you can. Next up from Marvel Comics in 1979, we have Amazing Spider-Man 194. Of course, the first appearance of the Black Cat.
More obscure Spider-Man. More obscure big Spider-Man character, yes. I guess you could say.
Well, this one's interesting why it's on the list this week and why there's an increase in copies being sold. There was press coverage that Anne Hathaway was cast as Black Cat in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 4 film that didn't make it. So just imagine that. Anne Hathaway, who later played...
I was gonna say, I was about to say she could play two. She would have played two cat themed
Yep.
anti-heroes,
Yep.
one from DC and one from Marvel.
Yeah, so I think Marvel missed the boat on this one. Of course, we all missed the boat because Spider-Man 4 by Sam Raimi would have been amazing. I love the original Tobey Maguire trilogy there. It's so good.
Except for the third one.
No, I love it. Look, I'm a fan. I mean, yeah, it's got some goofy moments, sure, but
You just wanted to see Tobey Maguire and his awesome dance.
damn right. Hey, that was some good hair he had too. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah. So that one's on the list. Next up from Marvel 2007, we have Wolverine Origins 10. First appearance of Daken, the son of Wolverine, and Marvel launched a travel website at explorematchreport.com. There are certain numbers that were found in scenes of Falcon and Winter Soldier that could be entered into different interactive parts of the site. Two names that were viewable on the site were Daken and Mystique. And Daken is rumored to appear in Deadpool 3. Now, that's an interesting reason for a comic book to heat up. Is all I can say.
Of course, I mean, at this point, everybody's been rumored for Deadpool 3.
Exactly. Yeah, it seems like Deadpool 3 is going to have every single character in the entire Marvel.
It's going to be bigger than Endgame.
I guess so. Maybe that's what they need. Next up from Marvel Comics, again, 1966, we have Fantastic Four, issue 53. It's got the first appearance and origin of Claw, second appearance and the origin of Black Panther, the first appearance of T'Chaka, Black Panther's father, and the first mention of Wakandan vibranium metal.
Speaking of Claw, I wish they would have kept his character alive. I wish they wouldn't killed him halfway through the first Black Panther movie.
Yeah.
I mean, Andy Serkis did such a good job in that
phenomenal.
limited role that he had.
Yeah, completely agreed. Yeah.
Plus, I mean, when do you actually see his face?
Yeah, true. I mean, dude, I would take an Andy Serkis Claw solo movie. I'd be fine with that.
Yeah,
it'd be great.
So would I.
Next up from Marvel Comics in 1973, we have Tomb of Dracula 10. Bob, this is like a really small book with just a minor character that, doesn't really pop up anywhere. But
yeah, I don't think you really need to explain the importance of this comic too much.
Yeah, this one's got the first appearance of a character named Bloody.
Blood fighting blood.
Yeah. Blade's first appearance there. Of course, look, you're not touching this book for under $1,000 now anyways. So thanks a lot. Just what we needed. More ways for me and Bob to not be able to get a copy.
Again, very, very sad. And I've told this story before. I had this book at a... me and a couple of buddies of mine went down to a show in St. Augustine. Mm-hmm. I mean, oh God, I can't remember how long ago this is, but I bought what turned out to be graded a mid-grade copy, so I believe like a 5 or 6. And I think I spent $200.
Oh God, Bob.
Mm-hmm.
Just imagine.
Mm-hmm.
You can't even, at this point, you can't be in the same room with a copy of this book for $200.
No.
They'll just tell you to get out.
No.
Yeah, wow. Next up from Marvel Comics 1993, we have Deadpool the Circle Chase, issue number 1. The first solo limited series featuring Deadpool and the first appearance of Slayback.
How many copies of this do you have?
Oh, God, Bob. I don't even know. A lot.
Yeah, I think this is one of those comics where everybody has many multiple issues, and they don't even realize how much they have.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, quite a few of those. Definitely pick it up every time I see it, but I think it's finally at that point where you're not going to see it in a bin anymore. It's going to be up on a wall somewhere at this point.
Right.
Next up for Marvel Comics in 1966, a lot of Fantastic Four this week. We have Fantastic Four 52. Of course, the actual first appearance of Black Panther, T'Challa, the King of Wakanda. Again, I don't have a copy, so wish I did. Next up for Marvel Comics 1987, Punisher #1, the first ongoing solo Punisher series.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a book that I have a few copies of. A great book, a great series and everything there. So, and speaking of great series, Bob, I don't know if you've ever read this book or not, or this volume, this 1977 volume of Miss Marvel.
I've read a couple of issues from it.
Phenomenal, really, really good stuff. This is the first appearance of Carol Danvers as Miss Marvel. Carol first appears without her powers in Marvel Superheroes 13, and then gains superpowers in Captain Marvel issue number 18.
I've had a couple of these. I've had a couple of copies of this over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Very, to me, a very underrated key issue.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, look at the creative team on it. You have Jerry Conway and John Romita Sr.
Mm-hmm.
That's a book. That's a monster. Next up from DC Comics in 1987, we have Watchmen issue number 1, the premiere issue of a 12-issue series that explores the dark side of superheroes from a realistic, flawed perspective. First appearance of Rorschach, Dr. Manhattan, Ozymandias, Silk Spectre, the Comedian, and Night Owl. Alan Moore based his characters off of DC's newly acquired Charlton heroes, The Question, Captain Atom, Thunderbolt, Nightshade, The Peacemaker, and Blue Beetle. And it looks like an animated Watchmen feature is now in development.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm guessing probably Amazon for that.
Definitely have to be something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bob, a book that we just keep talking about, we can't get away from. A book that came out just a few weeks ago from DC Comics this year, Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong #1, the variant cover art by Christian Deuce. This one has a gatefold cover that emits a Godzilla roar sound effect when opened.
Maybe.
Possibly, if you're in very good lighting. Just a...
and don't keep it near your very expensive comics.
You know, Bob, mine's still in that stack right there, so I need to move it probably. But...
Yeah, you might want to. That stack may be discolored.
Yeah, exactly. It needs its own short box. Don't open till Doomsday or something on it, but yeah.
Do not open acid inside.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna take a quick break and we'll be right back. Hello and welcome back to episode number 49 of the all new, all different #1 comics podcast. Bob, let's talk about some of the new comic books that dropped this week in local comic book shops. First from DC Comics, we got Action Comics number 1060. This has a backup story that's a prelude to the upcoming series Kneel Before Zod. I can't do a good Kneel Before Zod impression, but
the volume that will never end.
yeah, true. Next up, also from DC, we've got Batman Gargoyle of Gotham, issue number 2, with the first appearance of Moth, everyone's favorite Moth, and the Virgin as well. We also got, okay, so maybe this was this past week. I don't know, Bob. I feel like this was 2 weeks ago. The Batman Robin Lives, issue 428 of Batman. And from DC Comics as well, we got DC's Christmas anthology, 'Twas the Might Before Christmas, an 80-page anthology. $10 at that, Bob. I wonder how many of those sold. I definitely didn't.
80 pages.
Yeah,
that's definitely a to be continued.
Yeah, sure. We also got the book that we talked about a little while ago, and it was Green Lantern. Green Lantern issue number 6, with the cover art inspired by Green Lantern 49 from 1994. Bob, we also got from DC Comics, Wesley Dodds' The Sandman issue number 3 with the first appearance of Fog. First appearance of Fog.
I was going to say not the Fog,
no, not
Fog.
the Fog.
Just Fog.
Just Fog. From Boom Studios, we got Under Heist issue number 1. A gambling addict and former New York City subway operator attempt to set his life straight with one last heist using underground tunnels until confronted with a supernatural horror. Sounds fun. I definitely read it. From Marvel Comics, we got a 1 in 25 incentive of Star Wars High Republic Shadows of Starlight, number 3. It's a nice spoiler variant, and that one just keeps going up in price. Also from Marvel Comics, we got Spider-Gwen Smash issue number 1, a 4-issue limited series that promises new version of favorite characters. Bob's favorite characters.
Whatever that means.
Yeah, sure. We've got from Archie Comics, Sabrina the Teenage Witch Holiday Special, a one-shot holiday special with a really awesome cover art, by the way. Going back to Marvel, we've got Moon Knight issue number 30, the final issue, the conclusion of the death of Moon Knight, where Moon Knight unfortunately dies.
For a few weeks.
Maybe. Also from Marvel Comics, we got Miles Morales Spider-Man issue 13 with the first appearance of new Cape Killer villain.
New Cape... Is that his name? Cape Killer?
Sure, I guess so. From Dark Horse Comics, we got Masterpiece number 1. A girl discovers she's the only daughter of two of the greatest master criminals of all time who ripped off a billionaire, now seeking revenge.
Very interesting.
Very interesting. There was a great Tula Lote cover that I picked up for that one.
Mm-hmm.
Bob, we also got from IDW Comics Godzilla, the best of Gigan number 1, a compilation story of Gigan. From Marvel Comics, we got Daredevil Gang War number 1, first appearance of a new female character unnamed, and the first team appearance of the Heat, a gang. This one written by the great Erica Schultz, so you know it's going to be good.
That is a very vague description of a first appearance.
That's why you got to pick up the book to find out what's going on in it.
Isn't every issue the first appearance of a new female or male character?
Maybe. I mean, I guess sometimes you just don't have anybody in there. It's just the same characters. I don't know. From Scout Comics, we got Blood Run number 1. A racetrack from hell attracts the most ruthless of drivers to this unholy super speedway to test their mettle. With each passing lap, the sadistic violent ratchets up to another level. That's an insane sounding book, Bob.
It actually sounded like a comic form of the movie's Death Race that we got a few years back. What was it, Jason Statham?
Yeah, I never watched any of those. Any good?
I mean, early Jason Statham movies.
Okay, yeah. So we know what we got.
Right.
And rounding us off from IDW, we got Addams Family, Charlatans Web number 1, a new stories spun off from the animated series.
Pun intended or unintended?
I would assume it's intended.
Yeah, I would assume that.
That's what I think, at least. We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we're going to go over our review of Invasive number 1. And we are back with episode number 49 of the all-new, all-different number 1 comics podcast to talk about the book that we are here to talk about today. Invasive number 1 from Oni Press.
See, we just wanted to talk about Cullen Bunn.
I know, this is the Cullen Bunn cast, and we are here to talk about Cullen Bunn's new number 1, Invasive.
It does seem like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. Bob, I'm not even going to... We talked about this already. I'm not going to go into Cullen Bunn. There's no point. Cullen Bunn has done a lot of things. If you don't know, I don't know, Wikipedia Cullen Bunn.
If you don't know, have you been living under a rock? Do you even read comic?
Yeah, that part. Now, Jesus Hervas is the illustrator on this, and Jesus, Bob, we loved Jesus's artwork whenever we covered Marvel Unleashed.
Mm-hmm.
But Jesus has also worked on Penny Dreadful for Titan, on Hellraiser for Boom, which I can definitely see that working. The Empty Man for Boom as well, who I think that was also written by Cullen Bunn, if I'm correct. Yeah, that was also a Cullen Bunn book. We got Lucas Stand from Boom Studios, The Approach, Blade Runner Origins, Cyberpunk 2077, You Have My Word, Dark Ark After the Flood, Androids Tomorrow, Suicide Squad, Kill Arkham Asylum, Dead by Daylight, and the list goes on and on. But a talented illustrator, might I I want to go over the synopsis from Oni Press, and let me warn you that their synopsis is pretty damn long. So let me stumble through this. Beyond excess, beyond ethics, beyond science, enter a terrifying new experiment in pain from Eisner Award nominee. Wow, he hasn't won an Eisner? That's insane.
That is very surprising to me.
Cullen Bunn and acclaimed illustrator Jesus Hervas. Dr. Kerry Reynolds was a veteran trauma surgeon with a godlike mastery of muscle and bone. But outside the operating room, her rigid, ordered life spiraled into chaos when her daughter, Heather, a recovering plastic surgery addict, suddenly disappeared, only to mysteriously emerge in a catatonic state, her vocal cords removed. The latest in a series of victims scarred by a battery of brazenly cruel medical procedures that have baffled police and left an alarming number of once ordinary citizens maimed, mutilated, or dead on arrival. Deep beneath the streets of Cary City, a new kind of underground hospital has just opened its doors. And once inside, there are no rules, no oaths, and no taboos too deep to not be broken. Together, a new class of surgeon has sworn to piece the final threshold of accepted medical orthodoxy, one incision at a time. The scalpel, their tool, the alley, their operating theater. Murder is their medicine, and only Carrie can stop what they're planning next. Now, damn it, Bob, if Rod Serling did not write that intro, because it's long, and I couldn't speak so nicely, but yeah, I mean, just once you get to the end there, it just sounds like the intro to a Twilight Zone episode.
It does. Submitted for your approval.
Exactly. That was great, though. I'll give them that. That was a very good synopsis. I liked it.
You are correct.
Yeah.
That is a very long synopsis.
Yeah, it's awfully wordy. I mean, I think I'm going to be honest. This is probably the first time their synopsis might be longer than my synopsis.
Wow.
And my synopsis covers everything that happens in the book.
Wow.
So getting into my synopsis, Invasive opens with a very bandaged patient walking in the wilderness attached to an IV. And this is all taking place 4 months ago. We flash forward to today, and we meet a support group of people addicted to cosmetic surgery. We meet a doctor and a detective. And let me say here, this is one of those things where the characters, although they're named in the publisher synopsis, they're not named in the book yet. So we'll just say we meet a doctor and a detective. The detective recovering from back alley brain surgery, and the pair discuss teaming up to stop someone. We follow the doctor to the hospital as she enters a room of an unresponsive patient, who then turns out to be her daughter. Next, we follow the detective to a home where a young man missing his lower jaw tells the kid that he's trying to find out who did this to him. The doctor and the detective then meet up for drinks and decide to go out and find the shady doctor who did this. Next, we find a team of masked surgeons as they harvest organs from a man on the streets, and their leader then scolds them and takes them and the man to an abandoned building, and it's the same building that the kid was drawing. And we get a to be continued. So, Bob, let's break this thing down. Spoiler alert on my end, it's Cullen Bunn, so you can expect some pretty... I will say this. There's certain writers and artists and stuff, there's certain calibers that, you know, if I'm doing like a James Tynion book, if I'm doing a Cullen Bunn book, if I'm doing...
Mike Allred.
Yeah, definitely Mike Allred. Tyler Crook, you know, like, I can't put them on the same level as like somebody that's unknown to me, you know, and say, yeah, the story was pretty good or whatever. Like, I'm like, they kind of got a hit for me because I'm like, look, if most of the time you're knocking it out of the park, like, and then you're not here, then, you know, that's going to be commented on. Mm-hmm. So I just want to preface with that before we get into this review, but that's how I will be looking at it. But let's get into the story beats, Bob. How does this thing move for you? How did you feel about the way the story was laid out?
I think it moved very well. I mean, there was only that one page flashback, mm-hmm. And then you got into the story, and it's like, okay, that it's the story.
Yeah.
So I mean, it flowed well for me. This was such an easy read.
Yeah, one of the and this is just one of the many things I like about Cullen Bunn a lot, but Cullen Bunn really, really, really has a lot of faith in the artist that he chooses, always, or that he's teamed up with or whatever, to visually tell this story. Always. You can always look at a Cullen Bunn book and say, he communicated well to this artist. He said, here's my notes, here's, whatever, and here's where I want the story to go.
Here's where I want this character drawn.
Yep.
Here's how I want this drawn.
I mean, the communication just seems like it has to be impeccable. Because this is so tightly knit. Like, the story beats work really, really well here. This is playing out like a movie. It's done really, really good. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about the story beats. They're done fabulous.
And yeah, just on a side note, like I was saying before the podcast, of course, the only book that comes to mind, I'm sure we've done others, like we both said, but the only other Cullen Bunn book that comes to like right off the bat was Lamentation, which was another horror book.
Yep.
And he just seems to pick artists that go along with his ideas.
Yep, definitely.
Again, like I've said before, I mean, you could have a team with two big names, but if the art doesn't match the story, then it's not going to work.
Yeah, exactly. If they don't work together, if they don't work in harmony, then it goes out the window.
Right.
And we've seen that happen way too many times.
And like you said, Cullen Bunn does a wonderful job of relating to the artist.
Yep.
Okay, here's how I want this done. Here's how I want this done.
Yep. And it seems to always work out in his favor.
It does.
So,
it does.
Yeah, kudos to him. So how about the narrative then? The narrative of this book. Again, how do you even break this down? It's narratively telling a story very, very well. I mean, Cullen Bunn, is a master at this point. Like, he knows how to tell a story very well. This works in this nice third person here, where we meet our characters. We don't really spend too much time with anybody. We can see that the doctor and the detective are going to be big characters moving forward, but it's spread throughout the book pretty well. And the narrative structure of this is just, it's phenomenal. It works really, really well. I would say narratively, this is pretty impressive. Really, really done well.
And it's definitely, the narrative is definitely telling an original idea that I've never seen before.
Exactly. And Bob, maybe to get like a little personal here for a second or whatever, I've got horrible anxiety about medical stuff. I don't like medical things. I don't want to read about surgery. I don't like, like all that kind of stuff. Like, who wants to deal with that?
Right.
It's scary. This is not something I would typically be like super, super interested in, just because I, would kind of shy away from it or whatever. No, this is done so well. I'm just, it's so interesting. I don't know. We'll get into that later on more in the review, but just narratively, this is awesome. How about the dialogue then? We got, these characters. We have the detective, the doctor. We've got, the support group forming there. We've got the mother of the son whose jaw had been removed. So we've got a few characters here in this first book, and then of course later on towards the end of the book we have I don't know what we're supposed to call them, the team of underground surgeons with the leader and all of that. So we've got some unique voices in here. How do you feel like they were all played out in their dialogue? You feel like they had individual voices?
Yeah, I did, and you could definitely tell their roles. I mean, you have the detective who's not, by legal channels, supposed to be on the case anymore. But it's kind of like, I'm solving this case no matter if you tell me I can do it or can't do it.
Yep.
You have, the doctor who runs the support group, who, basically it seems like she's going to find out what happened to her daughter, no matter what. You have the, I don't know, again, they didn't really name names, so I don't know exactly what to call him. But you have the, I guess you would say the lead plastic surgeon is what I'm going to call him at the end, who basically seemed like, just from his dialogue, okay, I'm, the smartest person in the world, which if he's a plastic surgeon, he's definitely going to be, a smart person.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, each one has their own individual voice. Each one, by that voice, has their role, or has their role defined.
Yeah, completely agreed. This is well defined, like you said, throughout this book. So how about the world building here then? This world that Cullen Bunn and Jesus are building, this world of like back alley operations and organ harvesting and stuff like that, and whatever's going on here. I think this world really works. They've really kind of fleshed this thing out. You can kind of tell it's like it's forming. It's starting. You can tell that they haven't been doing this like for like a really long time or anything, but maybe they found this abandoned building and they're using it, and of course, the people in this story are seasoned. The daughter addicted to plastic surgery has been doing that for a while.
A grizzled veteran cop.
Yeah, exactly. So those people have been around, but the world they're building here is like kind of forming. It's kind of like a newer thing. I can't find anything bad to say about the story here. It really works.
No, and I love the horror trope of person walking in a dark alley.
Oh yeah.
All of a sudden he gets kidnapped or have his organs removed.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, what a horrifying scene, They really did well here because, you've got a team. It's about 3 of these masked guys here, and they pull this guy down onto the ground and just, start cutting him open with a scalpel and removing organs. And the leader thinks he's dead, and then he finds that, it looks like he's still alive or something whenever they're driving to the abandoned building and all of that. And, and what are they going to take him in and do next? That's kind of what the cliffhanger here is. But just really, really good storytelling.
Yeah, just on a side note, especially from that whole thing, I get a quasi. Do you remember the movie Dr. Giggles?
Yeah. Yes.
I get a quasi Dr. Giggles vibe where he just takes a healthy patient and just, does something like switches out their organs with an unhealthy patient or something like that. So, yeah, this book is definitely very creepy.
Yeah.
And like you said, dealing with it, what it has to deal with, like you just, touched upon your anxiety of anything surgery related, or I'm sure there's a lot of people in the world who have that anxiety. So a book like this is definitely going to take the creepy factor to 11. Oh,
absolutely. Yeah, this is something. I mean, just imagine being that guy in the alleyway. And I mean, they do a good job. There's not even any dialogue. I mean, we have it open to 2 pages right now where that's happening, and the only dialogue is the guy, saying please.
Yeah,
he says please.
Exactly.
Plead for his life there for a second. Then we get a little bit of automatopoeia of the organs being ripped out or whatever.
See, and sometimes in any other form of entertainment.
Yep.
Sometimes less is more.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes you don't need a whole lot of dialogue or a whole lot of sound or anything like that. I mean, just look how creepy these 2 scenes are, and all you hear is please.
Yep. Yeah, it's terrifying. I mean, this is a nightmare horrifying. I can't even imagine. Let's go into the art, Bob. Let's talk about Jesus' art. Let's talk about his characters. We get some pretty nuanced characters here because I don't want to use words like normal or anything like that, but you have some people in here who have been through some shit.
Yeah.
Definitely some people who've had some botched surgeries, some people who were addicted to plastic surgeries, some people who went and had back alley surgeries or whatever so they could get what they wanted and all of that. So some pretty disfigured people, even the detective, who didn't want to hear whatever was going on in his brain so badly anymore that he was having back alley brain surgeries. The characters, the characterizations in this book, visually just, they really hit for me. We already talked about how well Cullen Bunn and Jesus Hervas are working together here.
Mm-hmm.
And the characters are definitely right up there too.
The character, I mean, from the very beginning where you get the patient that we see 4 months ago, which I'm assuming is her daughter.
Yeah, me too.
I'm assuming that. I can't say for sure, but especially with the gas, the fact that she didn't actually say anything.
Yep.
Makes me think, okay, this is her daughter who had her vocal cords removed.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get the first woman in the support group.
Yep.
Talking about the plastic surgery and oh man.
Yeah, that's a rough look.
Yeah, and then we get the the kid with his jaw removed.
Ah, yeah.
At first you don't even see it.
Nope.
You just see the silhouette of his face, and it's like, oh, he's missing half his jaw.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
I mean, just his storytelling through his art.
Yep. Yeah.
Jesus does such a great job getting the story across.
He really does, and like we already kind of noted here, this book is not. I would say if you weighted this on. This would be a little bit on the lighter side of dialogue, in my opinion. Like, there's not a lot here.
Yeah, no.
But the story that's coming across is huge. It tells such a story, and does a good job telling it. And I mean,
and it basically tells it visually.
Yeah, I would say 75% of this is just through the art alone.
Yeah, I mean, the most dialogue we get is what, maybe in the first half.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the rest is visually driven.
Yes. So, I mean, kudos to that team for being able to pull something like that off. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
How about the backgrounds? We haven't really looked too much into the detail of the backgrounds. At least I haven't. I just read this book right before you got here. I hadn't read it multiple times, but I would say I really like the backgrounds here because, and the reason they work for me, sometimes we really like these detailed, heavy backgrounds and everything. And this has got it. Jesus can absolutely pull it off. You look at the scene where the doctor's first walking into her daughter's room there, and in the shadows, there's so much detail in the back. The knobs on the little, the display on the machine, like monitoring her heart and everything. The blinds behind her, all of that. The vents in the wall, the tile on the floor, flowers, everything. There's a lot of detail. And then we have scenes where, it really doesn't need any, and we're looking at something else. I love this. I think that the backgrounds work really, really well.
See, and my description of the backgrounds is actually going to be, it's actually going to sound contradictory, but, I'll explain in as much detail as I can.
Yeah. So,
the backgrounds, to me, they definitely aren't the most polished.
Yeah.
We've seen some books with just, outstanding backgrounds.
Sure.
But this book does not, need, the polished backgrounds that we've seen from like Superman or any of those kind of comics.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I've said before, it's a horror book.
Yeah.
So you don't need like museum style, art museum style backgrounds. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it lends itself to kind of that, you know, rougher, you know, a little bit more edgy kind of art, I guess you would say.
Yeah, I'm with you. This really works really well with that muted, kind of washed out perspective going on in the background and everything. Of course, like our foreground is the characters. That's what matters in this book. More so than, I don't know what somebody has going on in their window, like 12 doors down or
Yeah,
whatever.
see,
But
and you know, you were bringing up also. You were talking about the room that her daughter was in.
yep.
I mean, again, the backgrounds, you know, during the day when you got light, you know, again, aren't exactly, you know, the most detailed that I've ever seen. Which,
Mm-hmm.
again, I mean, for this book, it really, really works.
Yep.
But where you do get, you know, the detailed backgrounds is, you know, in the darker, shadowy, you know,
Absolutely.
kind of, you know, kind of backgrounds, which, you know, for a horror book, if you're trying to get that creepy factor across, that's a great thing to do.
Yeah, they definitely came across. I can say that.
Hmm.
How about the locations? We've got the support group, the hospital, the kid's house, the kind of back alleyway and everything.
Hmm.
I have no complaints about the locations either. They're all
Have none at all.
yeah. I can tell what's going on. I can tell when we've changed locations very clearly. But like you said, kind of with the backgrounds too, it doesn't matter so much. I don't need it broken up that badly.
No.
Um, you can tell just from the driving story here of where you are and what's going on. But yeah, I mean, to add another layer to it, the locations are separate locations, and you can tell that in the book, and they work well. So the last thing then being the colors. I don't know. I didn't do I didn't do my research here
Yeah,
to
there's
see
a
if there's a
separate
separate
colors.
colorist. Okay, yeah, Dan Jackson. I can say that name, Bob. Dan Jackson is the colorist on this book. Uh, I'll go ahead and say this: the palette is always like what really matters to me in a book, like with separate colors and everything. This palette, yeah, this is the palette for this book. This
Yeah,
absolutely, yeah,
this book you need a muted palette.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's all I can see. That's all I would imagine. And I mean the colors work really, really well. We have it does that thing where it's really, really muted. We're gonna see blood in this book because we should be seeing blood in a book like this. And just when you open to that first page and we're at like that kind of dusky or dawn type of situation with the character walking through the woods all bandaged up with the IV and everything. There's a trail of blood. There's blood on her heels. There's a little bit of blood on the bandages and around the eyes and everything. Like it it works phenomenally.
Just on a side note, when I did start reading this book and
Mm-hmm.
I opened it to this page, and you know, she was we got to the panel where she's standing on the hilltop and it kind of focuses on her face.
Yep.
I got a big time Walking Dead vibe.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I can see that absolutely. Yeah. This is this was really good. Cullen Bunn again doing really good work here. Jesus Hervas doing really good
Yeah,
work.
and I know it was Cullen Bunn, but what kind of expectations did you have for this book?
I will say this. I didn't even read the synopsis of it till today, so I wasn't sure what it was about.
Mm-hmm.
I did notice that the eye and the invasive, like on the trade dress, resembled a scalpel, and of course there was a cut through the logo there. So I would say I honestly wasn't sure what I was expecting. The cover of the book resembles that first page, so
Mm-hmm.
we've got the character kind of walking through the wilderness there, like all bandaged up with the IV and everything. We've got the mysterious like surgeon mask, like behind them or whatever. But my expectations were this better be creepy as hell or scare me in some way,
Mm-hmm.
and it better be well written. Those were my 2 expectations.
I think your expectations were either met or exceeded.
Oh yeah, absolutely exceeded. This is one of those times, and this happens. I definitely can't say with confidence that we haven't read like a good amount of books where I just really wasn't excited to read the next issue. It happens a lot where we're really excited to read the next issue. This one I almost can't wait for. Like I want to know what happens next. I really want to know, and it's reminiscent of Cullen Bunn because I felt the same way with Lamentation. I was like, I have to know what's going on here. I have to know what's going to happen next. He's so good at cliffhanging. It just phenomenal. This is again, we're going to run into that problem where I have it, in my head where I'm going to go with my top book for the year whenever we do our final episode and all of that. And now again, I have to reconsider because this is really, really good. I don't know, Bob. This was a top-notch book for me. I was not expecting that. I was expecting this to land somewhere in the middle, to tell you the truth.
So do we even need to ask the question?
Will I move on to issue number 2? I think I will. Bob?
Oh, I will absolutely be moving on to issue 2.
Yeah, this is good. This is creepy as hell, just in all the right ways. I don't even know what else I could say. If this is everything I wanted out of this book that I didn't know that I wanted. Phenomenal book. Phenomenal yes. First issue. Oni Press, knocking it out. Cullen Bunn knocking it out. Jesus Hervas knocking it out. Just, man, good stuff. On that note, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in a moment.
Do you listen to albums start to finish? Do you love concept albums? Are you always the first one at a party to bring up King Gizzard? Say no more. The Album Concept Hour podcast has everything you need. We have hot takes.
It's like Voltron.
It's just like Voltron. It's like Voltron with jazz. This is emo. This is Willie Nelson's emo trip. Bad improv attempts.
That was. Let's all British. Do our best Aussie accent.
Let's not.
Let's alienate all the Australians. And sometimes we even learn something. As they listened again and again to the song in the control room, Axel started saying, "Where do we go? Where do we go now? Where do we go?"
Shut up.
Spencer turned down the music and said, "Why don't you just try singing that?" And thus the last part of the song was born. Listen to the Album Concept Hour wherever you listen to podcasts.
And we are back with episode number 49 of the all-new, all-different #1 comics podcast. Here to talk to you about some new books that are dropping in local comic book shops next week. But, as usual, first, we need Bob's famous disclaimer.
Yes.
Because it's disclaimer time with Bob.
Yeah, as always, like I always say, these are just a few of the issues coming out. So if you want a more in-depth list, please consult elsewhere or call your local comic shop, and they'll probably be glad to read every solicit of every single comic coming out this week.
That's right. And if you live here in Jacksonville, Florida, like Bob and I, make sure you hit up Ben at Gotham City Limit. He would love to go over each one of those titles with you. Talk about them. I don't know, play charades, do whatever.
Remember, it's more than just a comic shop.
It sure as hell is.
So, first up from DC, we have Green Lantern War Journal number 4.
This one's got the debut of Green Lantern Ring and Armor. New Green Lantern Ring and Armor.
Because everybody needs armor nowadays.
Especially new armor.
Sticking with DC, we have Superman number 9.
And sticking with armor, this is the debut of Superman Armor, created by Lex Luthor.
Because Superman needs armor.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean,
why not?
He's Superman.
Going to Marvel, we have Star Wars Dr. Aphra number 39.
With the first appearance of the Inquisitor.
Not the Inquisitor, but the Acquisitor.
That's right.
Sticking with Marvel, we have Star Wars High Republic #2.
Bob, answer me this. Who or what is the child of the storm?
What storm?
I don't know. You gotta tune in to Star Wars High Republic 2 to find out.
Yeah, I guess I'll find out.
Yeah, sure will.
We have a one-shot from Star Wars Revelations #1.
This is introducing new characters and new twists and turns.
Yes, from what I hear, this is going to kick off what's to come in the Star Wars universe.
Probably a great book to pick up.
Probably, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, probably a good book. Again, with Marvel, we have Original X-Men #1.
Bob, tell me you're not stoked about this one. This is a one-shot original story featuring the first X-Men team. This is going to be fun. It's got Greg Land art. It's going to be good.
Yeah, I'm going to pick it up. We have Uncanny Avengers Fall of X #5.
Captain Krakoa's identity is revealed.
His identity was already revealed.
That's all right. It's revealed here.
Yeah, that's true. We have Marvel Tales Rom in the X-Men #1. Very out of left field.
Yeah, this one's got reprinting of ROM 17, 18, 31, and 32.
I don't know what happened in 19 and 19 through 30.
Not an X-Men story, I guess.
Oh, that's true. Staying with Marvel, we have Spider-Boy #2.
This one has a backup story, team up of Spider-Boy and Kris Kringle, both with K's.
Because Kris Kringle is dominating everything nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, look, if Batman gets to team up with him, then Spider-Boy should too.
That is true.
I agree. Bob, we decided we're not going to spin the wheel this time. There's not really too many #1s to talk about.
Yeah, and it's we've run into this issue before. If we pick one of the smaller imprints, we run the risk of our local comic shop either A, not getting it in because of distributing, or not getting enough copies in. So we don't want to run into the risk of having to pick, another comic 2 weeks in a row.
Yes, very true. So next week, we will be covering Boom Studios Animal Pound issue #1, written by Tom King. Bob, I don't think we've done a Tom King book yet.
No, I haven't even read a Tom King book in a hot minute.
Yeah, it's been too damn long, so we're covering Tom King this time. Get excited, get stoked. Bob is. And that about covers it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, check us out. We are on Instagram at ANAD_1 Comics Podcast. We are on X at ANADNO Comic Pod. You can check us out on TikTok at ANAD1 Comics Pod. And we're on YouTube under the name The Comic Book Channel. This and every week, you can be entered in a giveaway to win a copy of the book that we talked about. You're definitely going to want a copy of Invasive #1 because it's so damn good. All you need to do is use the hashtag AllNewAllDifferentNation on a social media post of your choice to be entered in that giveaway. And that's it. Bob, tell him we'll see him next week.
We'll see you next week.